am often asked 2 questions. The first one is, how do I start a gaming blog? To which I was like, oh, brethren of the world, I will make a video for you. So my video on how to get your gaming blog up and running is below if you want to watch. But the second question I get is, how did you get your start? You know, what is your origins? How did you become a gamer and all that fun, interesting crap? So I was like, hey, you know, come to think of it, I actually have never talked about that before in a video form. So I thought, why not? Let's do it. So the one who introduced me to the wonderful world of video games was my grandma. She has been playing video games ever since I can remember, not to mention she plays more video games than anyone I know, and to be quite honest, it's fucking amazing. But yeah, growing up, she would be playing, you know, Super Mario World, Secret of Mana, A Link to the Past, and I was too young, maybe like 4 or so at the time, too young. But I just remember watching her and just being like enthralled with this majestic, like, surreal world that was on her TV, and I just couldn't get over it. I thought it was the most amazing and incredible thing ever. And you know, she would always talk me through what she was doing, and it was just fascinating. And when I was 5 years old, one fateful Christmas Eve night, I opened up a present and it was a freaking Super Nintendo, and I lost my shit, and I wish it was recorded, but I just remember like staring at it and just like, oh, you know, like trembling from excitement, because now I had access to this like weird and expansive world that I had seen my grandma step foot into, and the possibilities of like everything just opened up, and it was so exciting, so exciting. And my first game for the Super Nintendo was Super Mario World, and that was my jam, and that continues to be my jam. In fact, that's probably like the game I'm best at, which is, I guess that makes sense, the game you've been playing longest. Anywho, so I had this tradition, and I would haul out my like pink beanbag chair out of my bedroom, and it was like hard and it was plastic and it hurt your butt so bad that it was pink, and at the time that was the shit. So I would haul that out, put it in the living room, and just go at it with Super Mario World. And it was fascinating. You know, when you're young anyway, like your imagination is just like crazy and like constantly on some sort of like kid drug, I don't know. But just to like see like this world with like all these vivid colors and like these hills with eyes, that's not good, because that's actually a really scary movie, The Hills Have Eyes. Anywho, and like walking turtles and like weird things called Goombas and pipes you could jump down and coins you could collect. You know, it just challenged everything I knew about reality. And my very first gaming memory was when I first acquired Yoshi. And I beat the level with him, and then, you know, on the overworld map, it shows Mario sitting on Yoshi, and they're doing their little like jig thing. And for whatever reason, I thought Yoshi looked like a king. I don't know. And I remember like turning my head and shouting to my parents, I found the king! I found the king! And then I continued to play Super Mario World. But anyway, point being, like from there, it just took off. My grandma would show me new and fun games I could play. You know, she got me Link to the Past. I would go over to her house. She would show me how to do things on her game, then I would go home and do them on mine. All of my aunts were into video games, and so we would play Donkey Kong. My aunt got me a copy of Earthbound, and I will forever be in debt to her for that. And just from there, like I said, you know, then from Super Nintendo with PlayStation, and then N64 and all those awesome things. The years went on, and I eventually graduated from middle school, go me. And around sophomore or junior year, a very, very weird thing happened. I stopped playing video games. You know, I'm not even sure why. I don't think it was anything deliberate. You know, I think I had just become so wrapped up in social standards and like boys and trying to like climb the social ladder in my school. I don't even fucking know, to be honest, because I don't give a crap about that shit now. So it's hard to even imagine like a me that I actually cared. So I can't quite figure out why I did that, but there was a reason for it, I'm sure. And I remember walking down the hallway at school, and one of my like childhood friends, you know, caught up to me, and he was asking about video games. And I remember I turned to him and I said, actually, I haven't played video games in about a year. And then I was like, what? What am I doing with my life? So my junior year, I acquired an internship with an estate agency in Washington, and it was basically like a pencil pushing, copying, faxing, etc., 2 hours every day after school from about 3 to 5. And then during the summer, I would work there full time. And at that time, you know, I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do, so I figured like, hey, you know, this could be a really good like foot in the door for my future self when I'm 18 and able to have a full-time job. You know what I mean? So I worked an internship for 2 years. And when I turned 18, I got on board with that agency with a full-time 40-hour-a-week, full benefits job. And I thought I was doing pretty freaking good. You know, here I was 18, just graduated from high school. I have benefits, I have a stable position, I'm making pretty good money. Yeah, I was rolling good for a while. Yeah. But as the years went on, I started to grow very tired of the position. The people weren't very fun to be around. I mean, you guys know me. I'm very like, oh my god, butt sex, blah, and it was a very professional environment. So I had to be very calm, very chill, very professional, you know, cross your T's, dot your I's, and all that shit. Um, and I just found that, you know, while it sounded good years ago, that maybe for me, this wasn't the career path I wanted to go down. Subject material had nothing to do with video games. In fact, it was very like depressing subject material, and it was just bringing me down. And I mean, every day I would get out of my car after driving to work and be walking through the parking lot and looking at that building, you know, that I had to go in and spend the next 8 hours of my life in. And I hated it, man. It just filled me with so much dread, and it just sucked. And once I started feeling that way, so like depressed and down, I started questioning my future. You know, what am I going to do? What do I want to do? I don't know what I want to do. And because I had been feeling so bummed out about the whole job situation and, you know, the future was so questionable, I had been turning to video games, which had really helped relax and calm me, and it essentially reignited that fire I have and that love and passion I have for them. So I'm thinking, you know, I want to do something with video games, but I don't know what. Not only that, like, all I know is this job, and I'd be silly to give that up. And just a lot of pressure and a lot of just like going in circles, you know. It's like there's no solution to this fucking problem. So I was going through that for a while, you know, just the constant battle, constant going in circles. One day though, after coming home from work, now I haven't mentioned this, but I used to commute 2 hours a day. It was an hour down to work and an hour back to work for reasons that are like irrelevant and stupid. But that was my commute. So I'd spend about 2.5 hours every day, and one day I had just kind of had enough. I got home, I plopped on the couch, turned on the TV, and G4 was doing their E3 2009 coverage. And I was watching that, and I'm like, oh, man, like E3 had always been a bucket list item for me. And I just saw everyone having such a good time, and it just like, something snapped, and I don't know what it was, but I opened up my laptop, and I went to IGN.com, and I started a community blog there under the username Britt5091, which is where the YouTube thing comes from, and now I can't change it. Ugh. But I started a blog, and the blog title was Just a Gaming Chick Venting. Admittedly, it is the worst thing I've probably ever written in my life. I mean, I think I wrote stories in the 2nd grade that were better than that blog post. But the important thing that I did that day was I wrote a blog post nonetheless, and I published it, and I got a couple new comments on it, you know, and I had been lurking on IGN for some time, but to actually see these people that I had been like stalking, you know, actually respond to my blog post, it was just like the most amazing, for lack of a better word, feeling ever. I was like, hey, you know, I wrote something about video games and someone responded to me. It's like, I have a voice. I can publicize what I have to say and people will read it, and it was awesome. And from then forth, I could not stop blogging. I was obsessed. I would blog almost every day. I became friends with these people on the blog. I bought a smartphone specifically for the reason I could talk to them during work and check Twitter and do Facebook and, you know, all that crap. And the more I blogged and the more time I spent on this online community, the more I realized that it was an outlet for me. It gave me a sense of purpose and direction. It made me feel fulfilled. I mean, damn it, I may have had this shitty, terrible, dead-end job that I absolutely despise, but at least I had this little corner of the internet where I felt like I was doing something for myself and I was working towards something, even though I didn't even know what that something was. You just, you know, to have that outlet, it really was my savior. I blogged on IGN for, 2 years, and during those 2 years, you know, I had met a lot of really cool people, I had formed friendships. In fact, a couple friends and I formed a podcast together called the Noobketeers. God, that's old school. And we had a lot of fun with it, and it was successful enough to the point where our hosting company was able to get us in for PAX Media. And there's nothing like getting your first media pass for a convention. I'm telling you what, it was the best feeling ever, and it was that kind of solidified it, like, for sure for me that this is what I want to do. I hadn't even been to the convention yet, but damn it, I have a media pass, and if I could do this full time, my life would have been amazing. You know, that's what was going through my head. But the real big kahuna, friends, God, I think it was 2010, when we got our first E3 media approval. Oh my God, it was the best. It was just, there's no way. You know, there's no way to explain getting, you know, your first E3 media badge. Oh, because, you know, if you're like me, you grow up like watching E3 and reading all the articles about it, making predictions all year long, and then to know you're actually going to be there, it was just incredible. This goes without saying, right? But E3 just blew our minds. It was amazing, and it was awesome, and it was everything that I had thought about. But the thing that I got out of coming out of E3 was that I wanted to do stuff for myself. I did not like reporting to other people. I did not like writing content that I did not want to write. No fault against the hosting company, because of course they're the ones that helped us get into E3, so I would expect nothing less than to provide content for them. But, you know, as I was sitting there, like, reading these emails about, like, hey, we want you to write a feature on this, we want you to do this, you know, please keep it chill, professional, I was like, oh man, like, I don't want to. I want to write it for myself, and I want to publish it to my friends and my followers, because that, you know, that's what I want to do. Is I don't know, it just bugged me, and it was from that point forward that I realized that I needed to start my own brand. Otherwise, I was never going to be able to cover an event or work for myself. So one weekend, I went to GoDaddy.com, and I was like, what the fuck am I gonna name my website? And one of the first things that popped into my head, that sounds fucking wrong. Anyway, was blondegeek.com. Yes, friends, I was almost the blonde geek, but someone had already taken that domain, so I settled for blonde nerd, which I'm really happy I did. I like nerd better than geek. Anyway, I didn't know what I was doing, really. I maybe had like an 18% knowledge of what I was doing, but nonetheless, I started it, and I had a website within a day, and I was like, hey, this is pretty fucking cool. And, you know, I loved blogging, and I had been blogging for 2 years on IGN, but having my own website and my own baby to do whatever the fuck I wanted to do with it, it was an incredible feeling. I very quickly became addicted to my website. Very quickly, I found myself with this like crazy work ethic for my website that I had never had, nor had I ever experienced with anything ever before. I had this goal in mind of, I need to get to E3, I need to get to E3, I need to cover it for myself, rah, and it was just driving me, and maybe that's what helped push it. So anyway, you know, I would turn down happy hour gatherings, I would turn down party invitations, I would be like, no, I have to work on my website. So fast forward another year, and it was time for E3 2012. My website had not accrued enough traffic to get me a media pass, which I was really bummed about. But because I still had the podcast, I was able to go once again under the hosting company's credentials. And I gladly took the opportunity, and I gladly did what they asked, because I was just so ecstatic to be there. Now, as fun as it is to launch your own website and blog for a community, it doesn't pay the bills. So, you know, this goes without saying, but I had still been holding on to that job that I really despised throughout all of this. And it was getting to a point, it was getting kind of bad there. It just was not good. So basically, in a nutshell, I came home from E3 2012, and I was, you know, when you're at E3 and when you're at a convention, and I know a lot of you can relate with this, you just feel like you're where you belong. You know, like, these are your friends, even though they're strangers, but, you know, you have a lot in common with these people. You're surrounded by industry enthusiasts, and it's like, that feels like home. And then just to get whisked away from that and get smacked in the face with the bitch reality of your stupid dead-end job and your crappy-ass commute, and just, you know, crappy people and blah, blah, blah. It sucked, and I couldn't handle it anymore. And I essentially was like, hey, I quit. Yeah, so that's kind of a scary thing to do, and looking back on it, it was very risky, but I made it. I pulled out my retirement, I pulled out some other money-saving programs I had been enrolled in, and I was able to live off of that long enough to find another gig, which allows me to work from home, you know, and work on my blog all day, every day, and it's incredible. And that leap was the scariest, riskiest thing I've ever done, but it was by far the most rewarding, by far. So throughout all of that craziness, I was still working on my website, and it was a year after that that I was able to get into E3 on my own credentials via blondenerd.com, which was awesome and rad. I mean, it was just like, it was this feeling of holy shit, like every sacrifice I've made, all the invites and all the shit I declined to continue working on my website, it was worth it. Like, this is all my work, like, manifested in a single piece of paper that said Brittney Brombacher E3 Media Badge. That said, I was kind of faced with a little dilemma. You know, according to my standards, I had made it and I had fulfilled the purpose of my website because I finally got into E3 on my own credentials. So now it's like, what am I supposed to do? And honestly, that's kind of where I'm at today. I mean, 4 years later, I'm still working on Blonde Nerd every day. I still love doing what I do. I don't really have like a goal in mind. You know, it's not like I have, you know, like of course I want to go to games like Tokyo Game Show. Like that's something I really want to do. But I don't feel like that's unobtainable. You know, I feel like that's something I could do given the financial, you know, like means. So yeah. I will say though that I'm trying to have more of a YouTube presence because I really enjoy making wacky, crazy videos because I can like physically get out my weirdisms as opposed to just like typing like the ASJKL semicolon crap. Other than that, I just launched a Patreon, so that's like a new step, something I was kind of you know, on the fence about, but I'm really glad I did it, and y'all have been you've been really supportive, and I can't thank you enough for that. And yeah, as far as where I go from here, not quite sure. I'm just trying to seize opportunities and take advantage of them and all that crap. So yes, this was like my way too long summary of my video game life, and I hope you enjoyed it. And if you have any questions, or if you find yourself in a similar position that I was in, the dead-end job, hit me up. I'd be more than happy to like help coach you through it, man. 'Cause I've been there and it sucks and I understand. And of course, none of this would have been possible. This video would never have been made if it weren't for the support of you guys. So like I always say, and I mean it, I can't thank you enough. Like, you are what inspire me, you are what keep me going, and I'm excited to see where we go from here. So again, thank you for watching, and I will see you soon.